y'all, and welcome to today's video. I bought the new Too Faced Cosmic Crush Out of This World eyeshadow palette, and I bought the Moon Crush Out of This World highlighter, the new launches from Too Faced. I want to swatch everything. I want to try it on. I want to see, is this the good quality from Too Faced that I saw in the Italian Spritz palette? Is this more lackluster than that? I have high hopes. I'm excited to play with it. Let's jump into it. Okay, y'all, so Too Faced launched their Cosmic Crush collection, and it was this palette, Cosmic Crush, with this cool color story for Too Faced. They launched 2 shades of this highlighter, and they launched a lip injection gloss. I do not like the lip injection gloss formula, so I was looking at this collection. I love cosmic inspired things, so the packaging and the theme, first of all, pulled me in, but I was intrigued by this color story. Too Faced does a lot of neutral things. That's their vibe, but we do have some mauve tones. We have this really pretty, sparkly, like green to blue or green to purple duochrome. That was interesting to me. We have a matte with sparkle. We have a gray shimmer. I think there are enough interesting shades in here. It just pulled me in. I want to test and try them. I just, you know, I like testing new palettes, and I had a good experience with Italian Spritz. I thought it was neutrals and colors paired really beautifully together. So we're going to try this on the eyes. I want to use as many shades as possible. I just think, yeah, this could be a fun one if the quality is there from Too Faced. So I did purchase this. I will link everything I talk about down below for y'all, so you can definitely check the description box if you're curious about anything. And this is the highlighter. When I first saw the photo of the highlighter, I was like, oh, I probably won't get that. But then when I actually read that it said, Next Generation Second Skin Glossy Glow Highlighter gives a wet look finish in an easy to use powder formula, I was intrigued. I'm like, okay, I want to try this formula. So I bought the shade Shooting Star. There are 2 different shades of this, and it has this like moon and star pattern embossed on the pan, but looking at it in person, it really looks pretty. It really looks pretty. It looks like there is maybe some sparkle in here, which I like all types of highlighters, sparkly, non-sparkly, like ones that sink into the skin, ones that are like popping and blinding. I like lots of different highlighters. So we are going to try the highlighter on. We're going to do the shadows. We're just going to have a good time. We are going to play in makeup. So let me zoom y'all in a little bit, and we'll start with this highlighter. Okay, let's try out this highlighter. First of all, I really like this compact. It is the same type of compact as their Cloud Crush blushes. So it's just bigger. It has kind of a different color, but it's the same packaging. This, by the way, is the blush that I already have on. I'm wearing the shade Candy Clouds. So let's try out this highlighter. I like this packaging. I like the heart detail. I do think it is nice, especially since this is a high-end highlighter. So I want to kind of swatch, and it does feel like a very like smooth, finely milled powder. You can see there. Yeah, that looks really pretty. Okay, let's try it on the face. I'm going to use my Sigma F03. I love this brush for highlighter, so we will apply with this. All right, I'm just going to start right here on the cheek. And that is intensity. Okay. I definitely think I picked up too much on my brush. So let me grab my color switch. Let me clean my brush off a little bit, and then we'll blend this in some more. Lesson learned, a little goes a long way. Okay, let me kind of blend this in a little bit more. That is very pretty though. You can see that is an intense highlighter which I really like. I love makeup. I really don't discriminate. I love color. I love neutrals. I love, you know, highlights that kind of sink into the skin and just make you look glowy. And then I love extra bold, fun highlighters. Like, it just depends on how I wake up that day, you know? But that is pretty. That is really pretty. Let's put some down the nose. Pretty, pretty. Okay, let me clean my brush off on my Sigma switch again, and we will go in with just a little bit of highlighter over here on this side. Okay, so I'm starting with way less, and you can definitely see that that is not as intense. So over here, and then over here. So if you saw this and you're like, no, I do not love a highlighter that intense, you can definitely get something more like this if you go in a little more light-handed. That is really pretty. I see sparkle. I like sparkle. I don't think it's overwhelming amount of sparkle, and I do think it looks really, really pretty. Both ways, intense and not as intense. So, okay, what I want to do now is play with the eyeshadow palette. So let me put down an eyeshadow primer. I'm going to zoom y'all in even closer, and we are going to use as many shadows from this palette as possible. Okay, I have my eyeshadow primer on. I'm using my Sigma eyeshadow base in the shade Ignite. And I think what we will do is start with this darker gray right here. This is like a gray that has like a sheen or a little bit of sparkle to it. But I want to see if you can see. Can you? Okay, look in the mirror at this shade right here. Can you kind of see how it shifts? That's a really pretty duochrome. That makes me really happy to see this from Too Faced. So we're definitely going to end up using this, but we are going to start off with this shade right here called Blast Off. Now, I know Too Faced has done palettes in this format before, but I've never bought one where it has like the square pans and the rectangle pans. I'm just gonna make sure, like as I was talking to y'all, I wanna make sure I tap out those creases in my eye primer, and then that way we can go on with our shadow on top of a non-creased base. And I'm gonna press the gray all in my socket. This is a look that I'm definitely gonna say, like, you're gonna have to kind of trust the process, because I want to get some intensity, and I'm gonna do that by starting with the darkest shade first, and then we'll buff out with our lighter colors. I will also say I love indie shadows. Indie meaning independently owned. I think they just make such cool color stories, pigmented formulas. You know, I love indie brands, but I also like testing out mainstream brands, drugstore brands, high-end luxury, everything, because I want to be a resource for everyone. You know, like maybe you have a Ulta or Sephora gift card or something like that, and you want to know what palettes maybe I would recommend, or maybe you're keeping an eye on a sale, something like that. I honestly just love makeup. I love testing and trying makeup. So when I saw this palette and it had a theme that I really like, and I think it has kind of an interesting mix of neutrals and colors, I'm like, I have got to try this. Okay, I want to go ahead and add in our depth. So I'm going to go into Total Eclipse, this matte with sparkle. I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to make sure I coat my brush. Sorry, could y'all see right here, this shade? I am going to press this on the lid in the outer corner. I just really love looks like this that give us some depth in the outer corner. I'm a little surprised that that black is not a bit darker. It's a very subtle difference between the two shades. Like you can see that gray is not a whole lot darker than this black. So I'm gonna layer up the black just to make it a little more intense, especially right here on the lid. And it's going straight on top of eye primer right here at the lid. It's not going on top of the gray shadow, just in case you were wondering about layering. So I'm just going to make sure I really like press that on right here and not over blend, because I want that to be nice and saturated right there. And then I will slowly blend to where the black does lay on top of the gray right there. I'm gonna pull this under the lower lash line too. Okay, so I'm swapping over to a different brush for my lower lash line. I will link these brushes down below, but they're a part of my Sigma set. I'm just gonna put that right there. So yeah, that is the black shadow. You can see it's not intensely black. It's more of a just a little bit deeper gray than what we used right up here, but I'm just gonna pull that underneath. Okay, for buffing kind of out and around, I want to use this shade right here. This is called Too Spaced. That was really clever, this one. Too Spaced instead of Too Faced. That's cute. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm going to set the brush down right here, and I'm gonna let the most pigment be right out here, and then I'm just gonna take my time and I'm going to buff and blend. I just want this to be a nice little fade. I'm gonna go back and forth and just take my time blending until, you know, I don't want to blend anymore, and then I will stop. But I'm just going to slowly buff, being very gentle, because I just want a nice fade. I don't want like intense color payoff with this shade. I'm also taking that color and blending it underneath our lower lash line shade, not on top of it, just right underneath, and then I'll let them mix a little bit where they meet, but I'm not gonna bring this shade up quite to the lash line. Okay, now I'm ready for this, what looks to be a duochrome to me. I think they just described this as like a multicolor shimmer, but it definitely seems like a duochrome to me, Hypernova. So I'm going to pick this up on my brush, and then I'm going to spray my brush with a little setting spray, makeup mist, whatever, just to help me kind of like minimize any fallout, just to make the shadow more intense, all of those wonderful things. And then we're going to pack it on our lid. Okay, so I'm going to press this shadow on first, and I'm going to put it kind of in the center of my lid. I'm going to bring it in a bit here. I want to leave this tiny little inner part of my lid blank though, without this shimmer. And I'm going to bring this up kind of high because I want you to be able to see this shadow. Like, this is the star of the show for me. So I'm just going to press it on. I'm going to leave that black outer corner black. Like, I do not want to take this shimmer on top. This is going to stay right here in the center. And that is really, really pretty. Like, that has some sparkle to it. I am impressed with that shade. I really am. If you have lots of sparkly, shifty indie shadows that you really like, this may not be super unique to you, but I do feel like this is unique for a high-end mainstream shadow. I think it's really, really pretty. Can you see a little bit in the reflection of the mirror how it does look a bit different? It's not a super strong shift, but it is there. Okay, I want to use this shade Ultraviolet right here on the inner part of my lid. And I will say, this shade, I think it fits well with this color story. It does look very pretty, but we also see this type of shade in a good bit of Too Faced palettes. I think this kind of shade from them is not super unique from what I've seen. just my observation, but I do think it's going to be pretty with these shades. So I'm going to spray my brush, and we're just going to keep it on this inner part of the lid right here. Okay, so I'm pressing this right here, just trying to fit that on that small space right there. I think these shades look so pretty together. Like, I know I said Too Faced includes this type of shade in a lot of their palettes, and I do think it's a little more purpley and less pinky than I thought it was gonna be. Let's do this shade. Let's do this called Frost in Space. I'm sorry. Whoever like named the shades in this palette, you did a great job, and I hope you get a raise because these are so cute. Okay, so this is like a pink to gold type of shade. I'm just gonna pop that right here on the inner corner, and this will complete the eye look. I mean, I'm gonna do liner, mascara, I'm even gonna do a lash later, but I want to go ahead and do the other eye first. Okay, I want to do the same type of like shape over here on this eye. So I have my primer down. Was gonna start with this because I feel like it's the same level of depth as this kind of gray shade, but I don't have any darker colors than these three. So I'm actually going to start with this mid-tone brown, and then we will deepen up the outer corner and the lower lash line with this deeper, darker brown. So this kind of mid-tone brown is called Big Bang, and I'm gonna pack that all in the socket. Okay, so same thing that we did on the other side. We're just going to be packing this on. And if you're new here, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. But this is a first impression. This is my first time using this palette. So I will continue to use this over the next couple of weeks, and I will put this in a follow-up review video. After I've tested all the shades, after all of that, I will come back with my thoughts. But I have tried several Too Faced palettes, so I do feel like I know the formula pretty well and can kind of like let you know, is this consistent with what we've seen from the brand? Okay, now I'm gonna go in with Superstar, that darker brown, and I'm gonna put that in the outer corner. I'm gonna really kind of like pack it right here on the lid so that I can get it as deep as possible, going right on top of that eyeshadow primer, and then I'll slowly blend it up to layer it on top of that mid-tone matte, and we'll bring this to the lower lash line as well. I also wanted to say, in case you're new here and you don't know, I love reviewing makeup. I love testing new makeup, trying new makeup, doing tutorials, first impressions, that kind of thing. But my videos are never to convince you to buy something. If you're interested in this palette, you're wanting to watch some videos, see what it can do, I do hope that my video is helpful if you want to purchase this or put it on your wish list or something like that. If you're not buying makeup right now, I hope that my looks can give you some inspiration to shop your stash. See if you have the shades needed to create these looks, you know, or maybe you're just hanging out, and I do hope that you just have a good fun time watching my content. I just really enjoy playing with makeup, and then we are going to kind of buff out with a fluffier brush, and what I'm going to use for that is this light matte shade right here called Orbit. All right, so I'm going to take that light shade and I'm just going to buff along the edges just like we did over here. These shades are just much lighter in tone, so our look is going to be less dramatic. Okay, the main color I want to be on our lid and like center stage is going to be Moon Glow, this metallic silver. I think it's going to pair really beautifully with these brown tones. So I'm going to pick it up on my brush, I'm going to spray my brush, and we're just going to put it everywhere that we put this really pretty deep kind of green blue here. Okay, so I'm going to take this silver and I'm going to press it to the center of my lid. Let this kind of be the main focal point of the look, if you will. I'm just gonna press it on and then leave just a little bit of this inner part of my lid blank. And then I'm not gonna cover up that matte brown in the outer corner. I really like keeping the outer corner of my lid deep and dark. So I'm just going to press, 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 and then lightly blend. After that, I'm gonna go in with this shimmer right here called Cosmic Crush, this light gold shade, and we're gonna put that right here where we put this more purpley color on this eye. Okay, I'm taking Cosmic Crush, this really light gold with sparkle, and I'm just gonna pop it right there on that inner part of the lid to have it fade from this shade to the silver to the matte brown. Okay, instead of a shimmer on the inner corner, we are gonna go with a matte inner corner, and I'm gonna go into this big cream shade called Milky Way, and I'm just going to pop that right there, just like that. Okay, so here is our more dramatic, colorful look. Here is our light, bright, neutral look. I am feeling it. I'm going to put on a liner and mascara. I'm gonna throw on a lash, and then I will be right back, and I'll kind of talk to you about my thoughts on this palette because I do have some thoughts. Okay, y'all, here are the finished looks. I really like the way these looks came out. I feel really good in both of these. This is, of course, like, I feel most myself in like colorful, dramatic, sparkly looks. So I'm definitely like, I really like this side, but I think this is so pretty too. It's very neutral, but still kind of impactful with that silver and the gold. I like the silver and the gold together. I think that gives a nice contrast, and I'm into it. I put on black eyeliner, and then I used some Ardell 113 lashes. My lip color, just in case you're curious, is ColourPop Ultra Matte Lip. It's their new Ultra formulas. This is Fifth Avenue, and then I went on top of it with my Omen gloss from Unearthly because I won't stop wearing it. Let's talk about these products. First of all, this highlighter. I think this is so beautiful. I really like this. I like the packaging. I think this is pretty. It's luxe. It's very like, I don't know, I like it. I like the embossing on the pan where it says like Moon Crush, and it has the moon and the kind of stars. I think the formula is very beautiful. It applied so nicely on the skin. I think it looks great, either lightly applied or more intensely applied. It's very beautiful. Is it something like super revolutionary, unique, like, oh my gosh, I've never ever had a highlighter like this? I don't think so, but I do think it's very beautiful, and I am happy with my purchase. I just think the way it sits on the skin is really nice. It reminded me a bit of my single highlighter from Natasha Denona that I really enjoy, so I'm into it. I'm happy I have this. Let's talk about the palette now. If you tried the Italian Spritz palette from Too Faced that they launched, I believe that was earlier this year, I do feel like the formulas are consistent with that palette. I find them very easy to blend. They are pigmented, not overly pigmented, not super intense. Like I said, with some of my favorite indie brands like Blend Bunny, Unearthly, Adept, GlamLite, you're gonna get that like intense pigment that is wham bam, and then you can blend it out and you can build as much as you want. That is not this. These are pigmented, but for me to get this intensity, you saw I did have to like apply and then dip back into the pan, apply, dip back in. So if you are somebody who does not want intense pigment, you don't mind kind of building a bit more, I think you will really like these mattes. They're very easy to work with. I have a critique with this palette, and it's usually like the same type of critique I have for Too Faced palettes, is we could use like just one deep colorful matte shade. I think that would give this palette so much more versatility. I think these shades, once they're on the eye, this one could be a little deeper in my opinion, but I feel like if we had like a deep, dark plum or burgundy or navy or emerald, it would have really made this palette go up to another level. I realize that's my personal preference that I'm sharing. You may not feel that way, but that's what would have done it for me. I definitely feel like we could have, this shade or this shade, like we could have only had one of those. Maybe we didn't need both, or of this shade and this shade, maybe we could have dumped this shade and just one deep dark matte. This one, this brown is very pretty, but I would have preferred it to be a little bit darker, but I'm okay with it this color if I could have had one more deep shade. Again, that is personal preference, but with that being said, I do really like my looks. I think they are super pretty, and I'm excited to keep playing with the highlighter and the palette. I want to say thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will subscribe before you leave. That way YouTube will put my videos in your subscription feed so you won't miss out. If you like my earrings, my friend Jamie makes jewelry, so I will link these down below. And yeah, have a good day. I will see you tomorrow in a new video. Bye!